All right, ladies and gentlemen, it does appear that there's been some very interesting and frankly kind of bad news when it comes to the Arknights Endfield beta, specifically its closed beta and the gacha system that it provides. I'm personally not going to be creating any Arknights Endfield actual in-game content based off of the fact that I didn't actually apply to the beta test. And boy oh boy, after seeing what I'm seeing here, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because holy moly. Remembering this is just a beta, it's still one of the worst gacha systems I have ever seen in a gacha game. It's absolutely freaking nuts. And I'm gonna walk you all through why that is. One of the things that we're taking a look at over here, right, is the character banner and the whole pity system that's going to be incorporated into the character banner. The idea over here is that the 5 stars and 6 stars of this game are kind of like the 4 stars and the 5 stars of previous titles. You're going to gain 1 5-star, or really 4-star, every 10 pulls. The pulls cost like a certain amount that we're seeing. The actual currency doesn't really matter. The pulls are what matters the most. And the idea is that the rates are going to be 0.8% for a 6-star for every single pull, and then 8% for a 5-star on every single pull. You have a 50-50 for getting a rate up and a 50-50 to obviously lose it. And with that 1 5-star guarantee every 10 pulls, that's going to be something that you kind of get, you know, as you're building up to that eventual pity of 80. After 65 rolls with no 6-star, the rate of pulling a 6-star is going to increase by 5% per roll. That's basically the soft pity that you see in every single gacha game. Everything so far is looking pretty vanilla, right? Especially when you're comparing it to games like Wuthering Waves, you're comparing it to games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and ZZZ. It's all looking pretty peachy. Nothing too new here. You might be wondering why I'm freaking out. That's because by 80 rolls, you will guarantee a 6-star character, but you won't guarantee that it's a rate up. This progress that you make on a banner will carry over to the next one. That's fine. That's pretty normal. You then need 120 rolls, counting that initial 80 if you pulled on the current banner, to guarantee the 6-star rate up character. And this only happens once per banner, but this 120 pity does not carry over to the next one. And so what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that you need a baseline 120 pulls on every single banner, new banner that comes in, to actually guarantee the 6-star rated up character, right? Somebody like this very sleek looking, very like nice dress, red-haired flaming blade lady. If you don't have 120 pulls on the banner ready to go, you won't actually be able to guarantee her, no matter how many 6 stars you pull. You are capable of losing every single 50-50 on your way up to 120 characters. And that, ladies and gentlemen, can be an absolute nightmare. What this means is that if you pull 10 times, right, using a 10 pull, and you get an early 6-star, and it's not the on-banner character, your next one isn't guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. You'll still have to go all the way up to 120 pulls on that banner to guarantee the character, no matter how many 6-stars you actually roll. You have the potential, ladies and gentlemen, of maybe even getting like 5 or 6 6-stars, and none of them could be the on-banner character if you're that unlucky. This reminds me a little bit of the Staff of Homeless incident with good old Tectone back in the day, where he lost 11 of those 50-50s in a row. Now, obviously, there still is that 120 roll limit, but golly gee, the potential for feeling like absolute shit here by getting unlucky is pretty damn high. And the best, or honestly the worst part about all of this, remember that pity? It's only once per banner. It doesn't carry over. And so that means if you want multiple copies, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one guarantee per banner. Whales, this is your hell. Wuthering Waves was your heaven, with dupes in the shop and a guaranteed weapon banner. Arknights Endfield, on the other hand, is your hell. You only get one guarantee per banner, and this means that you could be spending a lot of money. I don't see anything in here about buying dupes, and this is one of, if not the worst systems that exist. You don't get anything for getting lucky in the gacha, or you could get a lot for being lucky in the gacha, but the chances are you could be losing quite a bit. And there's only one guarantee per banner, so even the whales are getting screwed over too. It honestly feels like nobody wins in this entire situation except for the company lining its pockets. So now we gotta move on to the weapon banner, and this is where it gets a little bit worse. Honestly, a lot worse. Basically, you're going to pull on the weapon banner with something called an arsenal ticket. And there are two main ways for you to get arsenal tickets. The first one is going to be through rolling characters. You're going to be able to get a rebate for a set number of tickets. Rolling a 6-star is going to give you about 1,500, a 5-star about 500, and a 4-star is going to give you about 50. You're also going to be able to exchange 300 of that currency that we saw up here for 10 tickets. And think about it this way. One pull is likely going to turn into a 4-star unit. And that means that one pull or 500 is typically going to turn into about 50 of those tickets. However, if you do pull a 5-star, right? 500 overall, you just get super lucky and then you end up with a 6-star, that's going to turn to 1,500 tickets. And that is obviously a much higher rate than what you're seeing over here, where you're trading about 30 oro barrel for 10 tickets. The best way, obviously, to build this all up along with your roster is going to be to pull for the character and then in that process gain the tickets as well. You can then use those arsenal tickets to go ahead and buy weapons in the shop or pull on the gacha. And the weapon shop is going to rotate. We're not necessarily sure, or I'm not necessarily sure, what the quality of the weapons are. These could be just 6-star standard weapons that are rotating, or it could actually be the limited weapons too. Who actually knows at this point? Because we don't really know what's going to be in the next couple of rotations. And then you can get the 5-star weapons as well for a much cheaper price, right? You're seeing over here that a 6-star character is going to give you enough rebate to pull 5-star weapons or 2 5-star weapons, but that's probably, not going to be the thing that you actually want to do. This is just currency hell at this point. You have to convert your baseline pulls into like these 10 tickets, and then things are costing thousands of tickets to even like be used in the first place. Right now, you probably need some sort of calculator or maybe even a PhD to actually figure out what the hell you're spending on in the first place when it comes to this weapon banner. So right off of the bat, it's incredibly unapproachable for a lot of players. And you're gonna need guides just to figure out what the currencies are in the fucking first place. So this is a bit of a miss. We've only covered the currency and it's already a little bad. Now let's get into the actual gacha system itself. So with the gacha system, the rates are naturally a lot higher. A 4-star or a 6-star weapon, the highest one possible, is gonna be 4%, and then a 5-star weapon is gonna be 15%. It's actually a relatively higher rate compared to the character banner, but there's a reason why. That's because on every single pull that you make, or every single 6-star, it's a 25-75. You might be wondering, is that a typo? Honkai Star Rail has a 75% chance of getting it and a 25% chance of missing. That's not a typo. You have a 25% chance of getting the rate up weapons, and then a 75% chance of missing it. And it costs you about 2,980 tickets for a multi, a 10 pull. That's pretty expensive, right? We just looked at the rates over here. Getting 2 6-star characters barely gives you enough for a single 10 pull on here. You're gonna have to do a lot of exchanging and a lot of fucking calculus to even find out what you're gonna need over here, like the rate of goddamn change. A 5-star is gonna be guaranteed every single multi, same as the character banner, and then every single 4 multis, every 40 pulls basically on the weapon banner, you're guaranteed a 6-star weapon, but it's a 25-75, and this does not carry over, a common trend that we're seeing across many of the banners in this game. As a bit of extra information, if you do all of this conversion, it'll cost you, for a 10 pull on the character banner, it's about 5,000 oro barrel. On the weapon banner, if you do all the conversion over here with the 30 oro barrel to 10 tickets, it costs you about 8,940 oro barrel for a single weapon 10 pull. And so that's not really that good when that's almost the same as 20 pulls on the character banner. It's right below 20 pulls on the character banner to get 1 pull if you're converting this currency. So this weapon banner isn't looking that good. It's looking like a little bit of a scam. This next part, though, is the killer. This next part, though, is what seals this game's fate, in my opinion, if it stays like this heading into release. The 8th multi guarantees the rate up weapons, or one of them if there are multiple 6-stars in the rate up. You basically need 80 pulls simply to guarantee one of the rate up weapons. That implies that there are multiple, and that there are going to be multiple on every single banner. Do you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? One of the best ways that you're gonna have of getting these tickets is pulling on units on the character banner. You pull on one character in particular, let's say her, the girl with the horns, and you get her. You have a lot of tickets left over from all that pulling, and then you decide to pull on the weapon banner to get her weapon. You get to 80 through some godforsaken means. You get to 80, you get the guarantee, you see what the weapon is, and because there are multiple rate up weapons, you don't actually get hers. And here's the catch. This guarantee only happens once per banner. Every single 40 pulls after that where you're guaranteed a 6-star weapon, that's the only other way you're going to be able to get the 6-star weapons. If you lose the guarantee and you lose that 50-50 on the guarantee and you get the wrong weapon, you're now going to be subject to a 25-75 simply to get the weapons. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, woman, your chance of getting her weapon on every 40 pulls is going to be 12.5%. If you lose this initial 50-50, 12.5% every 40 pulls. You're fucked. You're completely fucked. This weapon banner is potentially one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's worse than Honkai Star Rail. It's actually worse than Genshin Impacts. It's actually worse than ZZZ's. And it's undoubtedly worse than Wuthering Waves' 100%. After this, we owe Hoyoverse an apology. We owe Hoyoverse an apology after seeing this one, because this might be the greediest weapon banner I have ever seen. Honestly, I'm okay with the 75-25 after seeing this shit. I'm okay with the pity thing that's in Genshin Impact where you had to pull 2 copies before getting the third, 270. I'm okay with that, whatever, after whatever the fuck this is. First, you have currency hell to even like get the weapon pulls in the first place with the most ridiculous conversions I've ever seen. And then you have this, where if you lose the 50-50 at 80 pulls after going through currency hell, you then have a 12.5% chance to actually get the weapon you want. Imagine R5ing it. Imagine getting 5 copies. Just don't even try. Whales, you're going to be spending exorbitant amounts of money on this game to max out your characters. I don't even know how you would approach this. I mean, it might cost actually $10,000 just to get a character's weapon to R5. I'm not even joking. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually that expensive. How do you do this? This needs to be changed, or this game is going to have a lot of troubles. This game is going to have a lot of struggles on release. And if this doesn't get changed, I don't think a lot of people are frankly going to play it, because the weapon banner might as well not exist for a majority of the player base if this is actually how it's going to occur. This is one of the most player unfriendly things I've ever seen. This game was something that I was looking at some of the gameplay of. It looked like it had some appeal. It looked like it had some potential, but this is going to be, it's just dead on arrival. If this is what the gacha system is, it needs to be changed immediately. It's literally the worst one I've ever seen in gacha gaming. And hopefully with enough feedback, these devs will actually fix their game. Let me know what you all think. Peace out.